Hey there!
I'm Sunny.
I'm Skylar.
And together,
we're CRUSHcast, aka the Vixens of CRUSH publications.
Join us today for another fun time with Crush.
Skylar.
Hey!
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. How about you?
It's great. It's episode 2. So that's exciting. Yay! All right, so let's start off with our Did You Know? So you got any fun facts for us?
I do. Funny you mentioned that. Since this is all about reading, I thought I would do a little history of ebook and e-readers. So bear with me while I read. But did you know? While many of you know that paperback books came to the US in the 1930s, few know that the concept of electronic books arose at the same time. According to Wikipedia, the idea of an e-reader came to writer and impresario Bob Brown after watching his first talkie. In 1930, he wrote an entire book on the invention and titled it The Reedies, playing after the name talkie. It would take 40 years for Brown's persistent vision to become a reality, and then in 1971, Michael S. Hart launched Project Gutenberg and digitalized the U.S. Declaration of Independence, becoming the first ebook in the world. To put that into perspective, 1971 was the year that the first email message was sent. In 1985, Voyager Company, who pioneered CD-ROMs, founded and published expanded books on CD-ROMs, including Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. And in 1993, Digital Book Inc. offered the first 50 digital books on floppy disk. So,
wow.
Fun facts.
Wow. That is
We've come a long way.
We definitely have. And it's crazy that it was the idea conceptualized so long ago.
I mean, that is quite a long time ago when you think about how popular ebooks became in the 2010, I guess that'd be the 2010, 2000s. And that's 70 years.
Yeah.
When it really like took off, like that's crazy.
Yeah, that is really so crazy. Well, this is our part where we talk about our wonderful sponsors, and today's sponsor for this episode is Crush Virtual Eroticon, bringing erotic writers and readers together.
Yes, it'll be our second convention.
It will be, so yay!
And do we know what date that is, Sunny?
It is July 26th,
2025.
Yes, so woohoo!
Very exciting, yay!
It
Go
is,
Crush.
yay! Yes, our second annual, woohoo! All right, so we're going to move on to our topic of the day. Today
we don't want to do some new releases?
Oh, we do want to do some new releases.
I mean, I got stuff coming out.
I have stuff coming out too.
Then we should talk about that.
All right, Skylar, what new releases do you have?
Well, I am very excited that this is my first witchy book as Skylar, and it's coming out, well, it came out on the 16th. It's Sexy Rendezvous, and this one was kind of like a lark at first because I did it off of like us and our personalities and our, some online friends, but it turned into something that went way into left field of something else, but I love it and I'm excited about it. And then last Friday on the 23rd, my Kindle Unlimited book, Cut Queen, Boss Under Fire, came out. And that one is, the Cut Queen thing is new for me, so I'm still like testing the waters. But that one is where a wife gets caught doing something naughty in the bathroom and her husband has to go seduce her boss for her. So that's different and fun. And then this Friday, Forgive Me Father comes out, also Kindle Unlimited. That is it the last one? I think it's the last one in my Temptation Tuesday series. So very excited that series started in 2013 and it's finally
it started forever.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's new for me. What about you?
For me, I do have my Sanctuary series, the next installment, which is Zeus. He came out on the 23rd. So I love my sanctuary world, it's completely different for me, but I do. Zeus is probably one of my favorite characters in the series. He is
Why
just,
is that?
he's flirty, he's fun, he's attractive, he's cocky, but he like has this protective instinct and he knows when to like push the other guy's boundaries and when to back off. He's just, I don't know. I love Zeus. He does some stupid crap, but I love him. He's probably one of my favorites. Yeah. So
That
he,
smile on your face says it all.
yeah, he is definitely one of my favorites. He's blonde. I'm not really a blonde person, but he's blonde. So
We all gotta, shake it up a little bit now and then.
yeah, every once in a while, yeah. But he came out last Friday, the 23rd, and then I have coming out on the 30th, Claiming Camille, and that is part of my Library Sex Club BDSM series. So that one is a lot of fun, age gap, boss, best friends, dad, all the taboo things in there, but it's great.
Maybe
It's a
we
lot of
should
fun.
have a podcast just about that.
Yeah, we do have a lot of taboo in both of our writings, so yes. So that's coming out. And then Luke will be out beginning of September. So, and that is the
Busy, busy.
final story in Sanctuary. So
Are you
yeah,
sad?
I yes and no because I actually did a spin-off of Sanctuary with our Big Bad Wolf series or anthology. So I did a
Yeah.
spin-off because Zeus's family is actually they are bikers and they have a motorcycle club and they're mentioned in his book. Um, and so it kind of there's a spin-off to that for that. The Skull Kings are their motorcycle club's name. So yeah. So they kind of keep going. Um, but it's a little
They're alive in spirit.
they're alive in spirit. And these ones, the bikers are they're a little more raw, they're a little rougher around the edges, but I like that. So it's all good.
I mean, your big bad wolf story. No, the first one I read, that was pretty good.
Yeah. So um the other one is ready and it's to be out there because when does Big Bad Wolf come out, the second anthology?
October 18th.
So not long that comes out. And
Not
we have
long.
a couple of new authors in that one. So that'll be
Yeah,
exciting. That'll be fun. A lot of fun.
it will.
Yeah. Um, okay, so now
Sorry.
no, it was my fault for messing up the order. Now is our time for the topic of the day. And today's topic is reading and writing erotica.
Ooh, fun
So
stuff. And talking about it, I guess.
yeah, well, yeah, talking about because we do that all the time. Doesn't seem like there's a day that goes by we don't talk about it.
I mean, you would think we get tired of it, but we don't.
You would think so. Um, so my question for you is, what was the first erotic book that you read?
So I had to look it up because I wanted to be accurate. I couldn't remember the author or the title, but I remember the series. And it was in 2010, Alora's Cave had the Naughty Nooner series. And so I picked up book one, and it was Sporting Wood by Cindy Spencer Pape. So, how
Oh,
about
wow,
that? I
that
mean,
is
I
interesting.
loved Alora's Cave. I loved them very much. I thought they were a fantastic publisher, but I was sad to hear them go
Yeah,
under, but they had some hot freaking stuff.
they did. They really did. I read a few things from there. That would not be my first. Um, my first is a book that you just love and adore.
I know which one you're going to say. We can talk about that for like hours.
Yeah. It is Anne Rice's Beauty series. Uh, the first time I read it though, it was not erotic to me at all. It was,
It was not erotic to me at all either.
it was so freaking scary to me. Like I'm like, what is this? I was young. I was pretty young when I read
I
it.
read it in February.
I know. I know. So the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do this." So I couldn't read it. I couldn't finish it. And then it's like years later, I went back and I read it and I got through it. Like it was still a hard read. It was a great read, but it was a hard read. But as it progresses, it's just how she does these characters and the progression of beauty in this book, in this trilogy, which actually there's the fourth one that came out like I don't know, like
There's
five,
another.
10. Yeah, it's yes, let me
Those
pull it
poor
for you.
characters. My heart like breaks for them just thinking about it.
So funny.
And for those of you who don't know us, there's a lot of emotion that I read this book finally because she's been trying to get me to read it for like,
Yeah.
almost 20 years.
So here's my, Beauty's Kingdom. Um,
And you just
yeah.
have that right there at your fingertips.
Well, Anne Rice is right here. So she's like all of her stuff is like here and here, but it's yeah. So yes. Um, but yeah.
Is it just as brutal?
Yeah, because I mean,
That
I mean,
land. Ooh.
I probably don't think that it is because once I finally got through the first like trilogy, I realized the reason I mean, I saw like the reasoning, I saw the growth and the development of the characters, so I don't really find it I mean, I don't really find it that as bad as the first one because
That first one
you
was
know
rough.
you know what to expect. And, so the first one was rough. It was really especially the first time I read it, it was really rough. But I've read it a few times since then and um like I really like the series, but yeah, it was not one I could read the very first time and get all the way through it. Couldn't do it.
I mean, at 41, I can't pick that book back up. I can't do that series that it scared me. It was just like, oh my God,
But you
what
didn't
if
even get but you didn't get through to where it gets better and
I
you
haven't,
start to see
I,
it. You haven't
I
even got her
can't,
past the prince. You haven't got her past the prince and
can't,
there's
I
so much
can't. I
more.
mean, you're
I
walking around
mean,
like a horse naked and whoo, I can't. Like we're sleeping on rocks. We're like I can't.
yeah, it was a lot. Um, but
Our parents just sending them off. Go train my daughter. Go slut her out. I can't.
it was to protect their land. They didn't just do it like that
I
was
know.
part of their penance for the protection of the land. They had to do it. And the mother did it. Her mother did it before. The father did it. They all survived. They all thought they
You
learned so
know,
much from it. You
you
would
gotta
know
break
this
the
if
cycle. You gotta
you
break
would
the
know
cycle.
it. There's well, no. Well, she does break the cycle in a sense. She becomes the person.
The person.
She becomes the person. So beauty takes
Oh,
over. That's why she has her
you
own
just have to
kingdom.
spoil it for me because I can't. Tap out. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah. All right.
But you know what I love about it though? I love that I hated it so much because her writing was just so like I wanted to hate the writing, but her writing was phenomenal. I just couldn't handle the plot.
Right.
It's just
I
too much
mean,
for me.
she's a phenomenal writer. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. She's just yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's no real hating her writing. You can hate what it is.
No,
I
there
mean,
was nothing to hate. It was just
she brings
rough.
a ton of emotion out of you. That's why she's
Oh,
like
she
my
does.
favorite because it doesn't matter what she writes. She's gonna bring it out.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, um, so those were our two completely different introductions to erotic writing. Um,
Well, I don't, I thought about this though. I think my first introduction though to like an inappropriate taboo topic would be Flowers in the Attic in high school by VC
that's
Andrews.
right. That's
But I don't
true.
think that's erotica. It's definitely taboo.
It is taboo. It is. It's something.
It's something.
It's
It is
something.
also something.
Yeah, it's something. I
It's
mean,
something.
yeah, I mean, I guess like that would have been mine too if we're like in a taboo topic. That would have been mine as well. But
I don't know. Is that on any banned book list? If not, it probably should be.
it probably is. It probably is. Because
It's
yeah,
never
I
on the
mean,
headlines. Harry Potter banned is on the headlines.
no.
VC Andrews is not.
But so shouldn't like Blue Lagoon. Like, wasn't they brother and sister?
I don't think they were. Were they? Were they?
I
I mean,
think
because if
they
that's the case,
were.
I was like a little fucking kid when I saw that movie.
Let me
Oh, let's
look, because
Google.
I think they were. We're gonna Google. Uh,
We clearly planned this out very well. Our answers.
they were
Live response.
cousins. They were cousins.
Oh my God. No wonder my dad had a fit that I watched it.
Yep,
You
the two
know, that is
cousins.
where my fear of spiders comes from.
Yeah.
Even,
Is
even
it?
though it was a crab, it is where my fear of spiders comes from. Even though it was a crab in the scene. I
That is
thought it was a
so funny.
spider as a child.
Yep. They were they were cousins.
Like second, third cousins?
It doesn't say all that.
I would pretend they're fifth cousins. Very little DNA
Pretend
share.
it's cousins. It doesn't say, and I don't remember like I don't remember
Well, then I guess
between
that would
so
be my first.
yeah. Yeah. I didn't read it though, I just watched it.
Well, I saw the movie. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
still exposure.
Yeah. That was
It was only like PG-13, wasn't it?
was it?
I don't know. I don't know. You were Googling. Let's
I
look.
don't think it would be Fiji. That just would
I
seem
don't know.
okay. Let's go to the movie.
Blue Lagoon rating. Maybe it's R. I don't know. It is R. My bad. My bad.
Okay. All right. It feels like really.
My bad. Again, I was like 7. I don't remember these things. But
You weren't born technically.
when it came out, I saw it when I was 7. I was at my grandparents' house. I vividly remember this.
I was older. I mean, I was probably like, I don't know. I think I was probably in like middle school when I saw it. I don't even know why I saw it, but yeah.
My cousin showed it to me.
I mean, I was at my house. I have no
With my
idea
grandparents.
why I was watching it or who was with me. I don't remember any of that, but I remember seeing it. I didn't find it that intriguing, so I don't remember much about it.
Well,
But
you remembered more about it than I did. I just remember the crab coming out of her mouth and my fear of spiders was born.
yeah, I don't remember that. I just remember, well, I don't remember the brother and sister or the cousin. I just like over the years that you know how you like just know those things that are embedded. That's how like I knew that. It's not like I remember
Ah,
it from the movie.
gotcha.
Yeah. I probably didn't even put two and two together that they related in the movie at the time.
I mean,
Like,
hopefully not.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking about that. Um, so that's I don't know. That is entertaining. So we'll just move on to from the related people and the tabooness that we really, yeah, that we do not write, by the way.
No,
We do not write that, by the
we
way.
don't. We don't write it.
No. Um, might do some step here and there, but there's
That's
no
not
blood.
related by
There's
blood.
no blood. Yeah, there's no blood. Okay. So we both write a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yes.
Um, do you have time to read? Do you still read like erotica, a lot of erotica?
Currently, I mean, I will read my friend's stuff, but I do not read erotica for pleasure anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll read my friends, support my friends, stuff like that, but like I write it so much I have no desire to read it for pleasure. I'm like straight back to generic romance, suspense, you know,
Yeah.
that stuff. What
Yeah.
about you?
Um, I still read it occasionally, not like I do read my friends, but like actually getting a book, buying a book, I read it occasionally just because it's really not as much, which is kind of sad. It's not as much for pleasure as it used to be. It's more of like if there's like something I don't know, like a different niche that I'm interested in
Yeah,
maybe trying
exactly.
or something, I will read a few just to kind of see like, is this something I could actually write? And because not whether it's good or bad doesn't mean that I can actually write it. I mean, it could be a great like
Right.
top
You gotta have
selling
to have,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, you gotta have a talent for that niche.
Right. So I read them just to kind of see if that is something that that I could see myself actually writing. Um, but not as much. I mean, I hardly read, which is so sad. Um, anything anymore. I've been picking up and reading more lately. Other types of books just because I miss it. And so I've been making the time to do it. Um, whether it's business books or self-help books to romance. I like the darker romance, paranormal. Started reading that
Yeah.
more. So again, um, and it's so crazy how I would devour like books and books a week and not like, but there's just not at that time. And I also don't like reading what I write while
Well,
I'm
I'm so
writing it.
scared, like I would steal a story, like steal a
Right.
plot or accidentally steal
Yeah.
characters. So I don't read anything that I'm writing once I start that niche. Like
Right.
before I started writing The Hot Wife, I read a lot of Hot Wife. I read a lot of Cuckold, but unless it's Sean's and we're writing it together, I don't read it because I don't
Oh,
want to accidentally steal anything.
right, exactly. And so that's why I don't either. Because I just feel like because it gets in your subconscious regardless. And
It
I mean,
does.
the
You can't help it.
reality, yeah, and as much as you may try not to, it's there. And so I definitely try not to, while I'm writing, read those topics. Um,
Well, and I also think that when you are writing with someone, like I read a lot of Sean's before I started writing with him, so I felt like I could match him. So if I was to write with somebody else, I feel like I'd have to do that too. Then I don't
right.
want to like oversaturate like what's in my brain already.
Yeah.
So if I feel like if I go out into the other genres, it gives me other ideas that I can use that aren't like copying other people. And like sometimes I think I overthink plot. And so by traveling to other genres and reading, they have much simpler plots and like kind of regroups me and like puts me
Yeah.
back on the feet instead of up in the clouds or on the ground, you know? So
Yeah.
I use other genres to like calm me in that way.
Right. So do you think that since we write more erotica now than like romance or mystery or things like that, do you think that that has taken away from like our world building?
I feel like it has for me because writing our big bad wolf stories, right? I mean, they're my two stories, they're 11,000 words each, and I had to kind of plot out a little bit to make sure I kept like things in line, and I hate plotting and I kind of had to, but
Right.
I feel like we have focused so much on the A plus B equals C for like the wham bam thank you ma'am aspect that
Right.
is kind of having to pull back and learn again how to do more than just fuck,
Yeah.
and I mean, because it's good. Like I like our scenes, I like what we do. I like reading the wham bam thank you. Like I like that in
Right.
erotica. But
Yeah.
60 stories later, I'm like, how the fuck do I make a plot again? Like how do I draw out a scene or a chapter that isn't about like getting on your knees or something,
Right.
So I've had so writing the big bad wolf and the sexy rendezvous even those were much harder for me and it took me much longer because I had to think about it. Whereas I can do a cheater story, I can do any of that. I can do that in a day. No problem.
Yeah.
These definitely for me were harder. But I also like that too because I hope that means that what I have done is better than what I used to do. because my skill is better and I've thought it out and I am more conscientious of things. I have better editing skills. I have better, timing, better efficiency with my words. And so hopefully in the end, it's all positive.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I feel like it's the same. Like you do, it's just like anything else where you've kind of got to get back in that habit. Like you have to like get
Gotta get
back
back
in
on the
the
bike.
right, because now it's kind of like doing this for so long, you have like this muscle memory of what you need to do and how quickly you can
Yes.
do it. It doesn't matter that, I mean, the characters are still there. We're still trying to write like a story. I'm still proud of what I'm putting out. It has nothing to do with that. It's
I think
just,
our quality is just fine. There's nothing wrong with
yeah,
what we put out at all. It's just a specific kind. And
yeah,
and it's almost like when I started writing as Skylar, it took me, I mean, you brought me here in March of 23, right? And it
mhm,
wasn't really till June that I felt comfortable putting out actual stuff because I had to
right.
go research and read. Even and I
Yeah,
went from reading it as pleasure to reading it as research, which are totally different kinds of reading.
they are exactly. They
Totally
are.
different because you go from just enjoying the flow and letting your body like feel what it feels to like what is the technique they're using, what are their tropes, what it has to happen in each of these genres. It's very different. One is pleasurable, one is not, and I think that's why I don't get turned on with erotic anymore because I've done so much like study that it's just no longer erotic for me.
Right. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what the story is and who wrote it, whether
I
I
mean,
do
it
or
really
not.
has to be my kink for it to like
Because,
do it for me.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I don't really necessarily write my kink.
I don't either.
So it's um not completely. Now there are aspects of it in some of my stuff.
Maybe we
Um,
should write our kink and just see if we finally can do or finally have the same issues that other peers of ours have.
that they have to stop in the middle.
They have to stop in the middle because they're too turned on. Like
That's so
maybe we're
funny.
not broken. Maybe it's just we're writing the wrong shit.
Maybe that's what it is. That's so funny.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I mean maybe. I mean, I do write some of it. It's not like I don't write any of it, but like I'm not the
I
age gap is
haven't.
not mine.
I
I mean, the age gap
I
isn't mine,
Hot
but
Wife
more of the
isn't mine. Cheater's not mine. Cut Queen's not mine. I mean, I don't mind writing them at all, but none of that. I mean, but when I started on Medium and started writing the club series and all that, that was. I
yeah, and
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like
but I
more
don't
of
write
like
that anymore.
the yeah, more of the BDSM and
Yeah.
the dominant submissive. That is more, but the age gap,
Like the rougher.
not really so much. And the cheating husbands and you know, not really that. Now I do like we've talked about before, talked about last episode. I would like to do a hot husband. I think that would be great.
I think we
I
should.
yeah, I mean
Maybe our next anthology should be a hot husband
hot husband,
anthology.
maybe. Yeah. Um, because I would like to be able to do something that is not so what everybody else is doing all the time. I mean, there are cheating husbands, obviously, but
Obviously.
not
And cheating wives.
and cheating wives stories, but not like this. Not with the not that I've read. I mean, there probably are. But I would like to do like the hot husband.
I think it'd be fun. And I think it'd be a new challenge. And not that I'm bored with what I do because I do love what I do, but I
Mhm.
do like a challenge. And that's
Right.
where I think like these projects that I joined and our project, it challenges me because it's not just the cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And I would love to do something that continued that challenge.
Right. And that's why like I want to like I'm trying to like switch up different things that I do um with like doing sanctuary and also like wanting to um do more of a 1940s kind of themed story which will take a lot
Well, I
of
could not do
research.
that. I could
I
not.
think it's like done. I mean, I love that era. I love those movies. I like,
I have nothing
and
against it. When done right, it's phenomenal. That is not something I could do though. I
I
could
mean, I
not
know
do.
that it's gonna take me a lot of research, and that's what like makes me a little nervous about it.
Sure.
But
You're great at research though.
I do love research. Um, but that's also why like I, you know, dip my toe in, like doing like my Twitter crush with Logan before, and so you know, I have a story idea that I want to do here soon. Um, so yeah, like those are kind of the dipping my toe in, getting practice with like short little bits so that maybe I
Right.
can um add in.
Get your gumshoe on.
Yeah, I got my gumshoe on. Yes, definitely. You know, put on my like my dame hat and just dull.
One hot dame
Uh
there.
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I love the clothes. I love like the whole like just all of it. And so like those
It's
movies
a
just
great era.
yeah. So um and the stories that I read, which there aren't a lot out there, um are phenomenal. I mean, you know. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how
Yeah.
it goes. It just may end up being like, a few Twitter crushes here and there. That's all they end up being. Um but maybe more. We'll see. I'd like to do a longer one, but we'll see. So, I'm looking at our questions. I feel like we've answered a lot of our questions with just
Not
talking.
like indirectly.
Well, not directly, but we've kind of answered them. So I'm kind of just like looking at them like, hmm. Um, After you read your very first erotic story, did you want to write one?
I was
No.
so ashamed and shy. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so upset this turned me on. And I was like, do you remember like I was super like in the shell, tucked away and sheltered of all these things growing up. And so the idea of doing that definitely never crossed my mind until we joined up. And then, you know, the blood series, and I kind of dipped my toe into some of the little raunchier, weirder stuff with the carving of initials and nuts and all these things. And I saw my family's reaction to that. I was like, well, I need to change my name if I want to do anything else. And then after I did that, I felt kind of ashamed at first, just
I
because of
remember
like
that. Yeah.
the parental reaction, right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, but now, like, I don't fucking care now. Like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I'm older, I'm wiser, and I just don't care. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Um, no, I didn't write. I wasn't even thinking about writing my own then because it's that stigma at that time when we're first writing, we're excited and we're happy and we want everybody to read our stuff. And that's not something I wanted to like bring out to the masses like, hey, read this.
Here's my name. Let it out there.
Yeah, that's because then you worry about your family and you worry about like your friends and what they're gonna think and like if they're gonna be embarrassed. And so I didn't. I mean, I had another name at the time that I used, but then like when Blood Myth was out, like there's some pretty graphic scenes, and I was I got grief for it. So I was at the point that you know what, it doesn't even matter. It just doesn't. Um, so I told people that were in my life so they knew. I wasn't like announcing it to the world, but I told people, um, my mom, she read a few. She was like, Stacy, but um, but she also gave me tips on
And
how to
I
make
love her, Tiff.
yes.
Why don't you share it with the masses?
Well, her tip was very much that I needed to make sure in my stories that whoever is in the breast realm whether it is a male or a female, whoever your partner is, needs to make sure they are paying special attention to that nipple. Because if you're not, the body is not reacting and not getting pleasure, your nipple should react. Like they're not doing something right. So your nipples should be reacting. And if they're not,
I think about you telling me she said that every time I write about nipples.
she
Every
does.
time.
She's like, you need to make sure you're writing details about that because that is how you know they're doing their job. If there's nothing happening there, then they're probably not doing their job correctly. And you're not doing your job correctly writing it. And I'm just like, okay, so gotta pay attention to the nipples and all of the details. Um, and it was just so funny because I know like you know well are friends with our friend as well in Houston, and her mom had said basically the same thing. I was like, what are these like what are we
You got to
missing?
think, like, what is about that generation that they did? Were their nipples lacking? Like, did they not
You
have
know,
nipple attention?
like and when they finally did, they were like, yes,
Like,
he's doing
oh
it
my
correctly.
God.
This is what
Like,
I've been
thank
missing all
God.
these years. It's
I could have done this myself.
been so like I don't know, but it was just funny that they both had said it pretty close to the same time. It's like, what the hell is happening? So yeah, I think about that too a lot. It makes me laugh. And as I like wrote more and more, my mom, she didn't read them. She would read
Probably
like,
for the best.
yeah, I mean, I was fine. I wasn't like asking her to read the like no. But like she would ask what I was writing and I would tell her. Um, she did like to read though. My anything that had to do with like monsters like vampires or werewolves or witches because she automatically in her brain assumed that they were scary. Like they were going to be scary and gory.
She must have
And
loved your witches book.
well, yes, I mean she definitely knew that one wasn't scary because we'd already talked about it was a cozy mystery and she
Yeah.
did. She thought it was cute. She picked out who was who in the story even though I tried to like keep it kind of because it was
Oh,
about
yeah.
my childhood friends
Right.
and like inspired by it. It wasn't about them. It was inspired because none of this stuff happened. Let's be very clear. None of these things happened. But it was inspired by them. And so she could pick out who they were quickly, whose personality was inspired by who. So it was just kind of funny. But
That's a
I mean,
testament to your writing, though, because she knew
yeah,
all of you, right? So
yeah,
you did
she
a
did.
really fantastic job.
Yeah, she knew us. And she could see like these banters happening between us. Um, and Gigi was like her favorite character too, because Gigi, the grandmother, is
Gigi's a great
everybody's.
character.
She is
She's a
everybody's
great
favorite
character.
character. She is.
I like the cop.
Yeah, yeah. But she like Gigi is who I mean, I aspire to be her when I'm old and
You want to
gray
be
and like
Gigi?
I do. Like that's my goal is to be this feisty little witch with bubblegum pink hair and it's like making everybody's lives around me crazy. Yeah, that's what I would love to do that. Casting spells just for the fun of it. I think it'd be awesome. So,
The first time I felt like a legitimate author was when our friend from Houston's mom complimented me on the Maverick. And because she was the
yeah.
English teacher, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And she didn't tear it apart. She didn't tear me down. She's like, this is a romance. It wasn't, but she was right. She's like, can't wait for book two. And I was really sad she died before she could see book
Read
two.
book two.
But
Yeah.
but she really made me feel like this was the path that was okay for me because English was such a struggle for me in high school
Mhm.
that she really made me feel like what I was doing was worth it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how people that you don't know very well can touch you like that. Because my
Yeah.
aunt being my biggest cheerleader was one thing, she has to love me, right? This lady didn't have to at all. And
Yeah.
I
She was
still
the
have the
best.
Afghan that she made me.
Yeah. She is, I do too. I mean, she's just like she was the sweetest lady. And
She was.
and she was so supportive no matter what you did. It did not matter. I mean, she read Blood Myth. I know she was like,
Oh my God. I
Um,
She was clutching her pearls.
she probably was. But you'll have to think about too, like she was like this cowboy romance, like she was reading, devouring a book after book after book. So she was not like any, she was
But then the
definitely,
Harlequin cowboy books do not have them paddles like that.
oh no, they don't, but she wasn't reading just the Harlequin like those ones, like she like because we would go get her the books and after a while and she was reading some pretty hardcore, rough around the edges cowboys, and she was fine. I mean, she liked him a little rough. She would say like these comments I would always because when you get to that certain age, you just don't care what you're
I
saying
just don't fucking
anymore.
care.
I mean, you're just
Yeah.
like whatever. But she would do it with such a sweet little voice that you would just be like, where did that come from? What is she saying? And but yeah, she was the sweetest, and she was so encouraging. It didn't matter what she wrote, and I mean, yeah, she was. So, I mean, I was lucky that she was there when my mom wasn't close because she did because my mom was,
Right.
across the country. So it was good to have that bond with somebody else. Like that, it was very encouraging because my mom was always encouraging, but sometimes you just need that face
Yep.
to face and somebody like in your face saying, I'm proud of you. It's really good. And that's just like what she did. And she knew your book was a romance. I thought it was so funny when she said it, and it was.
I was like, what is that? You didn't read it. It's a mystery. Kiss.
She's like, yeah, it's a mystery, but it's a romance. And it
That's
was.
it was. It sure as hell turned out to be.
Yep. So she knew. She saw it. Uh, oh my gosh. Okay, so what compelled you to write that first one?
Yeah, I don't even know. Because that would have been the cafe. I don't know
Mhm.
what the hell made me write that. I think kind of some defiance, because I wrote that vampire porn and my dad was all pissed off.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I was like, well, if you already think I'm writing porn, I should just write actual.
Yep.
And he still feels it to this day.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. That's fine.
But I
He
think
just,
that's what compelled me to take that step further.
yeah,
But I
probably.
think I do it better as Skylar than I did as Nikki because I think Nikki was too close to me and Skylar name wise, right? Because I used my
Yeah.
initials, I did all that stuff. I think this is a much better fit. I like the personality of Skylar is a better fit. Like everything is a better fit. And I feel like I write better now than I did in 10 years ago. So I write it better now. And I don't know. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I did it though. I mean, I don't know what made me just stop and think because I was doing the Blood series and the Maverick, and I don't know. What about you? Because we did it together,
We did. I have,
and your first one got banned, didn't it? And it got banned again.
it got banned. Yep.
You went hard.
I went hard. Just like, if I'm doing it, we're just gonna go ahead and do it. We're gonna
Yeah,
do it
piss
all.
Amazon off right off the bat.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I got banned after hours. It was rough. It was that anal scene, did it? That's what it was. But
Deep regrets.
no, no, because you know what? Like later I reworked it and I took that out, it still got banned. So adjusting to what like they want
I
doesn't
don't
always
remember it
matter.
being that bad.
It wasn't. I mean, it
I
is, but
feel
it
like
isn't.
Blood Myth was rougher.
Oh yeah, especially like after like when she was almost raped and then he claims her. Like, yeah, that was
Zach, yeah.
that was rough. Like, so like that. But this one, I mean, there was some dubious consent, but I mean throughout it, but mainly just with the anal is the most like was the dubious consent. So when I took that out, I don't really understand why it still did. Um, there was there was an agreement, there was a contract. She agreed. I mean, I don't
Do
know.
you find it difficult writing dubious consent? And do you feel it needs a trigger warning?
No, these trigger warnings. Um, back when we started writing, we didn't write no damn
I don't
trigger
remember
warnings.
trigger warnings.
I don't remember to write any trigger warnings.
I don't write trigger warnings in my
Uh,
stories, only on
um,
Medium.
yeah, I do on Medium. Um, I feel like the blurb says enough, and
Should.
the blurb and the cover, I mean, say a lot. Um, but I don't really write a lot. Well, I guess I do write some dubious consent more. No, I don't find, I like reading dubious consent, so I don't really find it uh that difficult to write. I don't think
I
I
like
go as
reading it too.
hard as a lot of people. Like a lot of people can go, like authors go really hard on it. Like I don't do that. Like I'm not like we're not hitting people, and we're not like in my stuff we're not, because I've read some that's like really rough. Um and I mean it ends up being dubious consent because she likes it, she wants it, she does whatever. But so I don't, but I don't write that hard. Um but I like reading it. And like all of these mafia books, I'm sorry, that shit is dubious consent, borderline rape straight out, like on some of these books. Um, and I enjoy
Yes.
it. I'm not saying they're bad stories, and I'm not saying like rape is okay. I'm not saying like any of these things, but I'm just, they are out there and they do really well, and they don't have the issues of like a lot of things that we have in
Do you
erotica.
think that it is simply because it's the erotica tag that makes us have these issues? Or do you think it's because it's more obvious that this is in there? So, like, Outlander has all of it, but there's no consent. Game of Thrones has all of that, but there's no consent trigger warnings. Game of Thrones has it, no trigger warnings. But our stuff has to have it. But do you think it's because ours is just so obvious and theirs is built into this whole world of crazy?
I think some of that has to do with it because Blood Myth doesn't have any trigger warnings, and it should. It has none.
Right.
I mean, whatsoever, and it should. I mean, it has just as much like stuff. I mean, it has a lot in there, and it
It
doesn't
has some
have
stuff.
it does, and it doesn't have any. It's never been, Amazon still puts it in the romance category, paranormal romance. I still use tag like keywords that are obvious that there are some triggers in there, but you know, has been out for 13 years, knock on wood, and has not had any, I've not had to have trigger warnings, or over 13 years. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has to do with it being erotica. Like, I think that's straight up what it is that it's erotica and that we are independent authors.
You think
I
that
mean,
really has a higher thing than it being an erotica? That we're independent? Because, I mean, I bet if Alora's Cave was around now, I bet they still have the same problems as us.
um,
Because they had some
okay,
shit. They had
let's,
some straight up related shit. Because I read it and I read a lot of
I
it.
think maybe because also the world building in it, because the beauty series, like you said, I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that has some major shit in
That
it,
is major shit.
and it's not banned.
And
And
she's a minor.
mhm.
Like,
But it's
there's,
also done when it's done, like in that time frame that was acceptable.
I, I think if we wrote an erotic story about a 16-year-old in the 1800s with a duke or something like that, we would get in trouble because it was under 18. Even if they were marrying girls off at 14 and 16 in the 1800s.
Maybe, I mean,
I mean, I'm not willing to test it.
I'm not willing to test it either, but I mean, in the myth series, which I keep going back to because I tell you it has like every like taboo in there. Bassette's 16.
So you really think it's strictly because it's erotica?
Yeah, I think it's a big part of what it is because I feel like there's so much other stuff that's happening in these other books, and there's like these world buildings, and there's all like I feel like it's just because it's like straight erotica. And I think it automatically gets classified as porn.
And it's not.
It's not. I'm not saying it is at all. It's not. But
Yeah.
I feel like on their standards, that's where it gets classified because I mean, there's even scenes in like your Blood series that could be that if they were
It
in a
needs some trigger
short,
warnings.
right, and if they were in a short, like those scenes, if you put those in like a 5,000 word
Lee is
story,
horrible to Jonathan. Horrible to him. What
yeah,
she does
I
to
know.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you put that in a 5,000 word story, it's going to get banned. But being as you have, that's my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't work for Amazon, and Amazon don't tell you
Right. Like,
anything anyways. So like,
no, they do not.
so you're just guessing on all of this, really. But
Right.
I mean, in my experience, that's what it looks like. But I mean, I do think independent authors get like more grief than anybody else too. Like,
Yeah.
and Alora's Cave is still, while it's a publication, it was still like an independent publication.
It was. It was a small press.
So it's, I think you still would have got the same reactions because it doesn't have these big like
Because it wasn't one
publications,
of the
these
big
big
five.
name,
Yeah.
yeah, these big publications behind them that are giving them, they're making millions of dollars off of these people. They're not like, I mean, they're not going to turn that away because of their
Right.
moral code that they have. That's why in their more,
I don't
their,
think I don't
that's
think it's
why,
Jeff Bezos though. I think it's all the other banks that are the problem. I don't think it's
oh yeah,
Amazon
I don't,
truly.
no, I don't think it's them like specifically, but it is that is but they are that is why they keep it
Right.
so not vague because they can
Yeah.
change whatever because they know. I mean, they know that they're going to go ahead and be okay with, you know, Anne Rice or uh Outlander. They're going to be okay with these books because they're too big of a phenomenon not to be.
Right.
Or like with, I mean, even
I
50
kind of
Shades of
wish they
Grey,
banned 50
like
Shades.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
I don't like the
we're gonna
book,
ban a book. Let's ban that one.
but I mean,
That
it's
was actually it, Sunny. That was it. I lost a bet and I was forced to read that and I was like, I can do this better. That was it. That was what it was. I totally forgot about that. I was
yeah,
forced to read that horrible series.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I read the series too just because if I was gonna hate something, I need to know what I'm hating, and I just didn't get it. I mean, I, and I'm not like everybody who loves it. Great, it's awesome. I mean,
I
obviously,
think it's great that it made it okay to talk about, for people to
yeah,
be proud of what they're reading. I thought it did a lot for like water cooler talk, for women to not have to feel like they need to be in hiding. I think it did a lot of movement in the positive direction.
yeah, and it
I
did a
just
lot
think
for
it
like the
had a
romance, like romance in general, because you're able to, you're not embarrassed about your books that you're holding
right
normally. I mean, you're not embarrassed.
normalized a lot of things, but I
Right.
think it also normalized some wrong things. Like 18-year-olds are gonna be changing billionaires' minds.
Yeah.
18-year-old girls gonna be changing anybody's minds. Like, we're just gonna have a contract and ignore it. Like, I mean, just like there's so much.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't really live in a because it's sold about this BDSM lifestyle, dominant, submissive.
That it's
It's
not.
not just because he has this playroom.
The red room of pain.
Yeah. And he spanks her once or twice. Doesn't like make it a
That tampon
lifestyle.
scene, I wanted to tap out. I was like, this, I can't do this. This is a horrible, horrible scene. I was like, why?
Yeah.
I was like,
So like
no.
I mean, but it did do a lot. You know, I she could, I mean, whoever her like PR person
She
was,
needs to do a marketing class. We've
they
talked
need to
about
do
that
a book.
before.
Yeah, they need to do a book, do a class, do something, because
I would pay for that.
that went from like, I don't know. But again, like everybody loves who they love and they like what they like. And if you love the
And
book,
that's fine.
great. Yeah, it's great. But this was
Now,
not judging.
how it came about though, because we have another mutual friend who was in the women's group where she was
Yeah.
writing it as fan fiction every week. As fan fiction and all of that, I could see like the allure of it and the pull and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it's a great like story of how it came to be. I just wish that was not what people thought of this genre when they
Right.
think like because there's so many better stories.
There are. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, yeah, the biggest part is that people think that that's what the lifestyle is, and that's not a
And it's not.
lifestyle. And
No.
that's confusing. And that's why, like, when I do write it, I try to be very cautious about, like, saying it's not a lifestyle. Like, this is not what I'm writing. These are not a lifestyle for you. It just isn't. It's just, this is a kink they have that they're just playing around with. This is not a submissive, dominant lifestyle because they're not,
Nope.
my characters are not living that because I am not educated enough to know how to write that properly. And I'm not going to try to.
Exactly. Same.
I'm not going to try to. Um, doesn't mean that I would not like to, because I would. I think, and there's a lot of subjects I would like to like write and know more about, and I may someday. Um, but yeah, I just don't have enough experience with it.
Yeah. I didn't think this topic was gonna get us onto all these different paths. I thought it was gonna be so much quicker.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be quicker too.
But look at us. We just like flowing and going.
Yeah, we are. And these topics where we thought we were just gonna do like, it's just gonna be a half
Like,
hour show.
sure, half hour.
No, we start
We
talking,
should
it's
know
just
by our telephone conversations it's never just gonna be
it's never a half hour call. It's never. No. And we always go like everywhere. So like on our
I know. I don't know why
conversations,
we
it's
thought this would be any different.
like we're gonna stick to like I'm looking at these questions and I'm looking at this like platform that we said, but we didn't stick to it. We never do. We try. It just doesn't happen.
We
But that's
answered
okay.
everything except how do you research for a book?
Okay, so how do you research?
I don't know. Like that's hard because I mean, well, you know this, but the world doesn't. But I don't like watching porn, so it's very hard for me to research. And then when I do have to watch it, I get distracted by like all these different things. So I mean, in those cases, sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll ask questions, sometimes I will draw out little stick figures and take polls. you know. But it's hard for me to research, so I try not to write things that require it.
Right. Well, like I said earlier, my if I'm gonna start a new niche, like I will read some other authors
Right.
are that are at the top of that game and that niche.
Right.
So I will read those. Uh, I will draw some figures to make sure
Yeah.
everybody is functioning and that all the limbs of all the, because, especially if there's multiple people, all the limbs are in the right places.
I
Um,
can't do more than three. I've learned that's just too many balls and penises. I can't.
you just got to match the three holes.
I just got yeah. I mean, I can't do more than that. God, I don't know what I'd do with three women. Like it'd be too hard for me.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I've done more. I'm more comfortable with three, unless the fourth is just watching. Sometimes I have that where the
Well,
fourth
that's
is
easy.
watching.
They don't require a body part.
Right. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, he comes in later, but the beginning, he's just watching. Um, uh, but yeah, three is normally my limit, but I've done five is the most that I've done. It was rough. So like that's where because I'm like, how is her hands going to here and going there and
I
where?
know, like, oh,
Because how is she staying upright? Like, how
Oh
is she
my
not,
gosh, I
like,
know.
falling flat down on her face?
I was like, how can you like balance while moving your arms? Like, I would fall on my face. And
right.
that's when I had to go into the porn. I was like, and then I just had so many more questions.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh,
It's just, yeah, like I don't. So I try to figure out how like they're all doing it, and if, one of the guys is holding her, helping her, seeing like, but then it's it ends up being
well, so in my
yeah,
head, like, how if you do your hands like this, moving one the opposite way, like how that's really hard. So in my head, I'm thinking, if you have multiple, like you have three penises, like how can your hands move at the same time doing different things if you can't even like rotate your arms opposite ways? Like, I don't know, it's too much.
but your hands can't, like, do they have to go opposite ways?
Well,
Can
I
they
don't know.
not?
Like, it might not be the same speed because your head is going like this. Like, it just in my
Can you
head,
not
like
like do that?
it just like I feel like it would be too much. It's too much. And what's the other guy doing? Like, it's just too many people. Too many
Yeah,
people. Tap out.
yeah. Well, yeah, it is, but that's why it's fantasy. We're
This
not supposed
video
to
is going to be hilarious.
yeah, we're not
Like,
supposed to be overthinking it. Yeah,
it's too much.
we're not supposed
So,
to be
like,
overthinking.
when I write, I close my eyes and I visualize the scene that I'm writing. So if I can't visualize it, I can't write it.
Yeah. And I do that too. And like I said, or I'll draw like little stick figures and try to figure it out, or I move my hands to like see if it works. Like, or
Oh, I can't. Oh my god.
um,
I did not
but
see this episode going to that, but okay.
oh my
Hot
gosh.
in here.
Yeah. So I have
Okay.
like this coughing fit here soon. All right.
All right.
So on that note, I think we're probably gonna close it out.
So let's thank ourselves with the Virtual Eroticon 2025 for sponsoring today's episode. Right now, tickets are on sale. They're $10 for VIP, free to get in. January 1st, the price is increased to $15. So if you want to join in our fun, now's the time to grab that ticket. And then you can follow us. Be sure to follow us. We're on Twitter at Crush Pub. We are on Substack at crushpublications.com. We have crushandmore.com where you can buy all of our books, and definitely make sure you check us out. But I think that's it.
I think that's it too. So
This is fun.
yay!
Number 2's in the bag.
Woohoo! All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Crushcast. Be sure to follow us so you can catch our next episode in 2 weeks.
Thanks to our sponsor this week and to all of you for listening.
Peace, love, and crush on.